We are very fortunate today to have one of the distinguished figures in engineering education community, Professor Dr. Anette Kolmos, who is the director of UNESCO Aalborg Center for Problem-Based Learning in Engineering Science and Sustainability. She has been the guest professor at KTH Royal Institute of Technology and also our guest professor at UTM, University of Technology in Malaysia. She's also the associate editor.
Sorry, I have to move closer to you.
It's very close. She's also the associate editor for European Journal of Engineering Education and the president of European Society for Engineering Education. She was awarded the IFES Global Award for Excellence in Engineering Education in 2013. And she's been very active over the last 20 years in promoting and advocating project-based, problem-based curriculum which involve change from traditional to project-organized and problem-based curriculum, development of transferable skills in PBL, and project work and methods for staff development. Professor Kolmos will be talking about transforming and sustaining change in higher education for Industry 4.0. I'm pleased to introduce Professor Kolmos.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. This is really a great pleasure. Dear Director General of the Malaysian Ministry of Higher Education, Honorable Dr. Siti Hamisar Tapsir, dear Professor Wahid Umar, Vice Chancellor at UTM, dear all the presidents in this room that are presidents for professional organizations and engineering education organizations, and dear Dr. Professor Hayriya Yusuf, dear participants, it's a great pleasure to be here. And I have to admit, this is the first time I'm going to compete with people eating. And Professor Hayriya has promised that there were short presentations. And I will promise it will be a short presentation because my soup is getting cold. When I first said yes to give a dinner presentation, I thought I could do one of these, fairy tales. You know H.C. Andersen from Denmark? You know The Ugly Duckling or The Clumsy Hands? And because actually what has happened during the last 30 years with problem-based, project-based learning was that it was a very clumsy hands. Nobody believed in that teaching and learning methodology. And these academic elder brothers, they didn't win. Who won? The princess and the royal palace. It was actually clumsy hands. And also the ugly duckling becoming a swan. But after I had done these ideas, I got a new email from Professor Hayriya. It said, "Oh, Annette, can you please talk about Industry 4.0? Oh, yes, I can. But you see, that is not so easy to put into any fairy tale. Because right now we are having a huge research project on actually how companies in the northern part of Denmark is implementing Industry 4.0. And let me tell you, there's no strategy. Let me also tell you, I have no conclusions for you, but I have a lot of questions, and I see things emerging in engineering education that is actually worth looking at. So, can I make a deal with you? Let me see if I can. I need the micro. I think I can see the slides from here. If I make the deal with you that I speak now for 5 minutes, and then I ask you to discuss with each other on some questions, is that a deal with you? Okay, good. The first slides, I will not use very much time on this. We have heard already from the first keynotes this morning, very good presentations. We have also heard from Xavier Fouché about the Internet of Things, big data, cloud computing, and the digitalization that will saturate everything. We have heard about the robots, and the robots that would actually also is a very huge part of Industry 4.0. And let me tell you how companies in Denmark right now actually implement 4.0. They buy a robot, and then it's standing in a corner because nobody knows how to use it or put it into the production system. What we haven't heard so much about, it's a new material. Because that new material in the biotechnology and nanotechnology, it will really create a new demand from interdisciplinarity. So all that is on the table. And Industry 4.0, it is about smart production. It is about a customized production where the customer can set up a demand, and the production system will be flexible throughout. And machines will talk to each other. So it is this smart manufacturing going on. If we look at all the reviews that are done on Industry 4.0, the Boston Group, the Boston Consulting Group, is one of the people, one of the groups that are really highly cited in this area. And they have all these, I think, 9 elements here. We have seen them before today, so I will not run through them. But what I want to look at, it is how do we put this into education? Because how do actually our students learn about all this? These 9 elements, and the Boston Group has developed, with these 9 elements, the problem here is that it's disconnected. It's not really coordinated, and it's not coordinated at a production level. So the first demand actually for education, for our students to learn, it is that they start to connect things. They learn to connect the different elements. And that will require something, because that will require that computer science, robotics, management, material, and one more in the corner, which I cannot see here, electronics, they suddenly will have to work together. Wow. If I see some barriers for development in this area, it is the cross-collaboration across the different disciplines. These boundaries are high, and we all in academia work in silos. But this is actually what should happen. And I very much emphasize that education start to have these labs where it can go in, where the students can start to work collaboratively with across the different subjects. We have one of these labs, and it's working. There is one issue with Industry 4.0, and I'm affiliated with UNESCO, so I cannot help putting up the 17 goals for sustainable development. And I cannot help to say that Industry 4.0 is developed here, and maybe also by people who knows about sustainability, but it's not integrated in the conceptual framework. So a huge demand for the future will be also to integrate the sustainability goals into the Industry 4.0 and the next fourth industrial revolution. And what might be even more important is also that we do it very concrete, and that we start to think about how will engineering education look like in 2030. This is a project that UNESCO has started, and it was just launched in the autumn at Tsinghua University by the International Center for Engineering Education and UNESCO. Thank you very much. Looking at what else is going on, OECD is saying, well, we need skills and training systems, we need digital skills, we need generic skills, and we need to achieve interdisciplinarity. And somehow I'm asking, is this something new? What is it? If we have reviewed the literature, what they say right now, it's the increasing qualification level. They say more collaboration with industry. That's nothing new. We have heard that many years. We say more engineers. We say more systems thinking, more specialization, more generalization, more interdisciplinarity, and more digital competences. They even also say in the literature, some pieces, the more critical part, says more sustainability, more ethical issues, more lifelong learning approaches, and more deep learning and transfer. More. We have had an overstuffed curriculum. I think Cindy Atman once quoted, since 1922, the literature has reported on overstuffed, overloaded engineering curriculum. More. It doesn't work. So we have to think about reforms. We have to think about how we're actually doing this. Now this one is not working. So now it's your turn. How is engineering education responding to all this? Please, you have your 5 minutes now. Please talk to each other and eat. No, I haven't finished. You should talk. I haven't finished. You should talk. You are allowed to talk now. Speak with each other. How is engineering education responding to this? What are we going to do? Talk to each other. How is engineering education responding? Here it doesn't work. How is engineering education responding to all these challenges? I'll give them a few minutes. Eating. There's a strong echo. I don't know what to do about that. That's the technical part. Okay. You are not speaking. You are eating. You are speaking. Okay. Let me give you some of my answers to how engineering education actually is responding. I'm sorry about the echo. These are the technical guys over there. You have to do something with the echo here. Okay. I have put up engineering education disciplines in the middle. And what I see emerging right now is actually problem-based, project-based learning. That was a system, a teaching and learning methodology that we had to argue for 10 years ago. Today, we don't argue any longer. Today, it's more the quality. We see open learning sources that is coming up, and online learning, but sometimes it's not merged into each other. We see internship with companies and projects with companies. And we also see reflection on problem-based learning, much more competence development going on. And The way normally, the most common pattern here is that we have the disciplines and we have a little corner of projects in one corner, and then we have a little corner of the ICT. It's not really connected. The engineering disciplines are still the core. But there are other models right now, as I see coming up. There is the MIT model, where it's much more active learning. Here in this, it's project-centric learning going on, together with engineering education disciplines. I also see these models actually popping up at universities like University College London, the UCL. And what they have done is to map actually what kind of activities there are in all the courses, and then to tie it together so it becomes a model. There's also the famous smaller Australian university right now, the Charles Sturt University, that is working on combining the active learning with projects and with online environment and with internship. And there are other famous, actually, that will become famous, new programs going on also from Swinburne University, where the internship is in the center of the program. So these are just some of the models. There is Iron Range going on in the US, in Minnesota. They have reflection, and then they have active learning, and they also do projects together with companies, and disciplines somehow squeeze out. And then I see an emergence in engineering education right now, where you have all the different elements, but in the middle, you will have the professional and technical competences. And the disciplines will not be in the core, but the disciplines will be whenever we need the disciplinary knowledge. So we are talking about here a totally new type of progression. But in order to sustain change, we need to have a model approach. And I have borrowed this slide from Ruth Graham. It didn't make sense to make a new one and to do the same kind of animations. What she's saying, and this is very important, it is that if you only change in one element or in 3 elements, or even in half of the curriculum, if these elements are not interconnected, then the change will not last. So successful change, it actually needs to be curriculum-wide, and we need to find new ways of doing the interconnectiveness among all the elements. So, emergence or disruption. I have talked about emergence here, but I think if we really want to change engineering education, we need disrupted systems as well and new business models. So I will end this by Christian Eriksen. Do you know him? Yes? He's from Tottenham. He's a Dane. And I actually brought this in that we shouldn't be afraid of technology, and we still have a lot to do. But for the coming video here, you can also use that as an example of actually how academics... Can you put up sound? Can you put on sound? Can you put the sound on? For how the academics...
That is a shocking foul. That must be a red card.
There is absolutely no need for that in today's game, and yet we see it time after time after time after time in this tournament.
He's let himself down, and he's let the team down, hasn't he, John?
The last slide. Many of these issues with new models, with problem-based learning, with innovation, We will discuss that also at a coming International Research Symposium at Tsinghua University from the 19th to the 21st of October next year. So thank you very much for your listening.